I'd like to call this Planning Commission meeting to order. Today's agenda is a public hearing. It is being broadcast on the government channel as well as being streamed live on the web, so your comments will be there for all posterity. There was a sign-in form going around. I do have one copy of it. If there's any additional entries, if someone could bring that forward, I'd appreciate it. There was a checkbox if you plan to speak, and no one had checked it, but I imagine some people were planning on speaking at today's public hearing, so I'm going to just call the names in order. I do ask that we hold comments to just 3 minutes. They will be timed just for everybody's, time. Call your name, as I said, in order that they're on the list. Provided on the table over here to my left are two maps. One map is the current zoning plan for the neighborhood in question.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
There you go.
Not to repeat myself too much, but again, I do ask that we hold comments to just 3 minutes. I'll have the sign-in sheet here. I'll call the names in order. Since no one's checked the box next to whether you plan on speaking or not, just either come up if you are planning on speaking. If not, just tell me that you're not planning on speaking. On the table over here on the left, two maps. One map is the current zoning plan for the Far East Side neighborhood. The other is the proposed one. The proposed one has been blown up to a much larger scale than you've seen before, but it has not been altered by the Planning Commission. This is more or less the original proposal that was submitted to the Planning Commission by citizens of Athens in September of last year. After the public hearing, I do ask that people who have chosen not to speak, if they are a resident of the neighborhood that is infected by one of the parcels that may get rezoned, if you put sort of a vote on your parcel, whether you are for or against the proposal. I provided tabs, they're colored tabs over there. Just use a green tab if you're good with it, a red tab if you're not okay with it. If you're coming up to speak, you can do that at a time. You come over, after you're done speaking, go over and put your tag just so there isn't a mass amount of people voting at the end. But we do want to see how everyone feels about it, especially if you're here and you're concerned, you want to see what other people, how they feel about it, but you aren't planning on speaking, it's a good way to see how your opinion still matters. All right, so if there's any other comments by Planning Commission members?
No, we're here to listen.
We'll go ahead and begin the public hearing.
Go to the podium, maybe. Yeah.
We do ask that you go to the podium to speak. That way you'll be picked up on the microphone that is for the room as well as for the recording. First on the list is Wendy Jackmus. Do you plan on speaking? Okay. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I do need to, just as typical at every meeting, I apologize for that. I do have to administer an oath to those who plan on speaking. And you simply have to say "I do" at the end of the oath. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth to this commission to the best of your knowledge? Thank you.
What about the letters into the record?
And last but not least, there have been a number of letters that have been either mailed, emailed, or hand-delivered to the Planning Commission prior to this public hearing. One is from Mark Amon.
He's trying. Close to the mic, I guess.
Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Another is from Wendy Jackmus from the Athens Chamber of Commerce. We have another one from Don Linder, Larry Conrath Realty. And we have a letter from Greg Lavelle. That's all the letters that I have in my receipt. So those will be entered into the record of today's meeting. The full content of the letters will be as part of the minutes to this meeting, so we aren't going to be reading them verbatim for you, but they will be, as soon as the minutes are put together for this meeting, they will be made available. Anything else? Okay, we will begin the public hearing. Like I said, hold your comments to 3 minutes. Next we have on the list is Pete Good. You plan on speaking? Larry Van Dyke. Cynthia Winter. Patricia Miro. Kenny Yuri. And then Sarah Bromfield. Chris Fall.
This could be quick.
Jeff Dill. Jeff.
Okay, I think I'm sort of responsible for this. Our group are the ones that initiated this request, since then it's sort of taken on a life of its own, and so I wanted to clarify a few things. These are things I said at the last public hearing, but somehow they got lost in the shuffle. In the first place, we are not asking for any business properties to be rezoned. If that's our original proposal stated that what we're really interested in is the existing R2 zone, which is behind East State Street. In that zone, there are 113 structures, and 104 of them are single-family residences already. Only 9 of them are duplexes. And furthermore, all of the duplexes are clustered down close to East State Street at the south end of that zone. And our main purpose for submitting this request was to pull the R1 boundary down as close as is reasonable to take all the existing single-family homes and rezone them as R1, which is for single-family homes. That was the main point to try and do this. And we would prefer that no non-conforming uses be created, that no business properties get rezoned, and that no existing duplexes get rezoned. And further, if any owner of a single-family home currently in that zone wishes it to remain in an R2, then I would trust council or the planning commission to redraw that line, however necessary, to accommodate the wishes of the property owner. But I think from our group, most of the people that own single-family homes in that R2 zone would prefer them to be rezoned to R1. And hopefully it's that simple, but since this process started, I've seen suggestions that some R1 properties get rezoned to business, and all kinds of things that were never intended, and I apologize if that wasn't clear from the beginning, but that was the main intent of this request, and I think it's reasonable. I think it's in conformance with the comprehensive plan, which says that the Far East Side neighborhood should be preserved as a neighborhood conservation zone with low-density owner-occupied housing, and I think our proposal moves in that direction and is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. That's all I got to say.
Jeff, actually, if you could stay up there for one moment, I do have a question for that, because in putting that plan together, there were 16 business B3s that were converted to R2.
There was a rough sketch of a suggested line, but I made it clear at the last meeting when I spoke that line is flexible. That's within the discretion of the planning commission and council. And again, the main point and all the verbiage in the proposal was directed at rezoning the existing single-family homes and making them R1. So, all right, I thought I made that clear at the last meeting, and I apologize if it wasn't clear. Okay?
Thank you, Jeff. All right, Aaron Thomas. All right. Larry Shea. You don't have to speak for 3 minutes if you don't want to.
to say we agree and appreciate what looks to me like a correction of something that's been that way for 60 years is now being formally zoned to represent what we have at our business, at my dealership, because the building that's been there for probably 60 plus years extends into what's an R2 zone, I guess, and you're going to make it B3. It makes it a lot cleaner and better for everyone, certainly better for Don since it's his property. So he's very much in support of that, and we appreciate you fixing that problem when you did this. So that's all I really have to say. We're obviously for it. I'll indicate that on the map.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you for your comments. Mitch Endick.
Hi. I have a whole paragraph to read, but since Jeff said what he said, I think I'm just going to hand it in as a letter. I am very against changing my B3 property to R2. It's going to be a killer. So, thank you, Jeff. Save a lot of time.
Thank you. Again, that letter will be entered into the record and attached to the minutes of this meeting. Ken Sams or Sears? Betty Rosser? Alan Swank?
Sure. My name's Alan Swank. I've lived at 40 Townsend Place for 16 years, which is R1. And before that, my wife and I and 2 kids lived at 19 Avon Place, which is R2. Been on the side of town for, believe it or not, 29 years. I went to college to be a history major, so I'm not a geography major per se. I have a question for the panel here. You mentioned 16 businesses would be affected by the current proposal, which Mr. Dill is now entering another proposal. Of those 16 businesses, who owns the majority of those businesses?
It appears that 8 of them are owned by Mitch Endick and 4 of them by Integrated Services. That's the majority.
So 12 of the 16 or 75% are owned by 2 businesses or 2 individuals.
Correct.
I don't want to call into question anyone's motives, but I'm just wondering, and I would like you folks to think about this. Why is this thing even before us today? You know, generally when people come to the Planning Commission or any commission to ask for a change, they do it for one of 2 reasons. Either something's wrong and it needs to be fixed, or it's to prevent something possibly bad from happening. I haven't heard yet in any of these meetings, in the newspaper, TV, where anyone has clearly stated a need for change. Until that happens, I think you need to put this on the back burner. Again, I'm not sure of anyone's motives, but it kind of is ironic that the Not in My Neighborhood Association seems to be targeting 2 individuals. Now, is that their motivation? Only they know that. But I think there's some digging that needs to be done. I'll tell you a very, very short story and stay in my 3 minutes. In 1980, I had a flat tire. Lived on, not sure where at that time. Took it down to the Firestone store. Came back that afternoon to pick it up, and they said, Mr. Swank, your tire's not ready. We got a bad batch of glue. Can you come back tomorrow and get your car? I came back the next day. Jeff said, your car's ready. Can we put it on for you? I said, sure, that'd be great. On my 1979 Mazda GLC. In fact, I think I bought it from Larry Shea when you had Mazdas. Long time ago, with Larry scratching his head. He put the tire on, he walked in the showroom, and I followed him. And he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to pay my bill. And he said to me, no, you're not. We don't ask our customers to come back twice. Folks, we're talking about a $7 repair bill. But you know what? 32 years later, I still take my car to that Firestone dealer. What's the point? These businesses down here have been good neighbors for a long time. And any action this commission or any does to jeopardize those businesses and the services that the majority of them, being local businesses, provide to the citizens of Athens would be a real disservice. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Kevin Gillespie?
Where's he going?
We can't hear you.
Can't imagine that there are many. Oh, I'm Kevin Gillespie. I live at 29 Grand Park, and my business is at 11 Graham Drive. And this is a photograph of our business, which was scheduled to be switched from a B3. Just to, I guess my first question is, and Jeff has clarified somewhat, but who drew these lines and what was the calculus? What was the rationale? What was the thinking? What was the business input? Because, I mean, I'm certainly against my business from being converted from a business zoning to a non-business zoning. You know, we've been good neighbors. This is the building we built. We took over an old paint shop with no, you know, heat or central heat, and it was just a shell. And we made it into this regional business, which is basically a technology business with a small walk-up service. I live in the neighborhood. I love our neighborhood, much like the Swanks. And I personally enjoy the diversity of our neighborhood. I know that not everyone enjoys it to the degree that I do, and I appreciate that. But I think from what I've come to know recently, there's a huge number of people who live in the neighborhood who love, like I use Firestone too. And actually my body shop work is done at Larry Shea. I've said this before, and some people like this and some people don't, I like the urban feel of our neighborhood. And I think in a town like Athens, that thoughtful planning with careful input is a good thing. And that we can balance competing interests and probably come up with some pretty decent mediated kind of thoughtful solutions to some legitimate challenges to zoning. As to my business, I have 2 lots on Grand Park. We have a mortgage with Hocking Valley Bank. We have 90-some employees, although not many of them work out of this office because it's mainly a technology and communications and administration office. We run all of our business through Hocking Valley Bank. I'm very proud of our business. I think it's beautiful. I think we've made a very strong contribution to the neighborhood, and it would clearly, and I think in a thoughtful planning process, I can demonstrate that it would erode the value of my business and put my mortgage at risk if the zoning was changed. So, I mean, of course, we're opposed to it. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you for your comments. That's all the names I have in the sign-in sheet. One thing I think, we heard a few comments from those who lived in a B3 zone that was being proposed to be converted to an R2. Could I have a quick show of hands of who lives on a parcel that is currently R2 being proposed to be rezoned in R1? Lives in an R2 zone that's, parcel that's being rezoned into a B3. There are 2 of them on the map. Again, proposed. Yeah, okay. That was, thank you. What was that? Oh, I do. That's a good point. Appreciate it. Well, no, and then those who live in a B3 that is currently, or live or own a B3 parcel that is currently being proposed to be rezoned in R2, if you could raise your hand.
What color is green?
That'd be Again, if you currently own a R2 parcel that's being proposed to be rezoned to B3, if you could raise your hand.
R2 to B3 is Chevy.
Yeah, all right.
12 Rebel left.
Shouldn't?
What? No, go ahead, what?
And again, I'm not,
What are
this
you
is not a vote if you're for or against, I just wanted to see who was in attendance.
What's existing?
Existing is, that's R1 right there.
Right here is
Yes.
existing?
It's R2 right there.
I also didn't get a chance to put my name on the speakers list. I would like to say a word.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess if,
Fold it after the open mic.
Here's existing.
all right, Don, if you go ahead. And if there's anyone else that has not signed in on the sign and would like to speak, if you could do so.
That's okay.
After Don speaks,
You
please
just
raise
can't
your
vote.
hand. Thank you.
I think Kevin Gillespie showed a nice photograph of a building which is integrated into the community on the east side, far east side, which to me is a beautiful piece of architecture that enhances the neighborhood. I think that whoever came up with the ideas and drew the lines, I think we need to give it a lot more thought in how we're going to do that. As a real estate broker in the city of Athens and this region, what I am coming into contact with is a lot of folks trying to begin small businesses. And this is one of the few locations in the city of Athens in which that will allow for that. And we have only limited areas. And the frustrations of the small business owners that are looking for those opportunities, they don't really exist much in this town, whether the floodplain is interfering with that or zoning issues, or even the process of doing reconstruction of those sites. So this area does still allow for what I would consider integration of business and residential, which is really the theme of the future for our society in general, where we have an integrated development where people work and live together. And if it's done in a planned and appropriate manner, I think that's the best we could hope for. I think what we're seeing, unfortunately, is a degradation of some of our residential neighborhoods in condition. And we're seeing value being actually reduced because we're not concentrating on some of the infrastructure needs of really the community. And that being, well, how come people are not keeping their houses up, whether it's rental properties, but it's as much owner-occupied structures as it is landlords that may not be keeping up their properties, which we have, you know, good code office to attend to that. So this is a far wider reaching issue we have today that has significant integration into our community and what is going to happen on the east side of Athens. And I think we need to step back and not make any harsh decisions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, again, that's all we have on the sign-in sheet. Does anyone else plan to speak at all?
Do I have to do a disclosure? In full disclosure, my husband owns a property on Townsend that would indeed be affected going from R2 to R1.
Now we know.
All right. We had not really planned to give much comments. We wanted to hear what those affected in the neighborhood, what their concerns were. Again, however, due to the time, was there any comments that commission members wanted to make? Yeah. I think that's all I got to speak, so. RJ or? No. Okay. Nancy? All right, if that's the case, I think we should, next steps, again, this was a proposal that was brought to our attention by a citizens of Athens. Any citizen can propose a zoning change. I think this is a way we wanted to show how the system, can be effective, that, if someone does propose a change, we aren't going to just sort of let it die in committee. We'll give it its full vexing. And see where it goes from there. What will happen is Plan Commission will go back and review the proposal. I mean, it seems like it's been a very definitive that most people like the intent of rezoning to what the current zone use is. And that would mean not rezoning current businesses into a residential zone, but rezoning single-family residences into a R1 zone as opposed to being an R2 zone. I would really love to see what people's thoughts are, and that's why it's very important for those who didn't speak, those who live in the R2 zones that would be rezoned into R1 under this proposal, if they are for or against it. And again, you can do that by finding your parcel on the large map, putting a green on your parcel if you're for it, putting a red tag on that parcel if you're against it.
What will be the process of decision making here? Because I heard
Can't
from
hear you.
people who were not.
Thanks, Tom.
Process.
Maybe contrary to what I heard, I think most people that spoke here were in opposition of change. So I guess what is the position that you had stated? Was it that I guess maybe I didn't hear it correctly.
No, what I'm saying is that it did seem like there was any opposition to an R2 being converted to an R1 if it was a single-family residence. Not a single person spoke on that item. What we did hear considerable opposition for was if it was a business currently zone B3 being converted to an R2 and the use of that site currently was a business in operation. Nobody seemed like spoke favorably about making that change. Now I apologize, Alan did say, Swank suggested that he felt like the current zoning for this parcel was acceptable and effective. So I don't see any of the commission members bringing this up to a vote as it currently stands. I can't speak for them, but I would imagine there would be some rewriting of the boundary lines of the proposal before it would be put to a vote by the commission.
How many people brought the request forward?
I think there are 4 names on the application.
Out of how many property owners?
113, is it?
130.
How much? 113. Right. So that's less than 3%. Okay, I think, that's a vast minority of property owners. I'm not sure, as he had asked, why we're here
Right.
with only a less than 3% opposition or wanting to change. So I'd like to know what the process will be for the Planning Commission of pursuing a change in that, and why are we, I guess.
I don't think a lot of people even know that.
Right. Go ahead. If you'd like to, again, make any comments, ask you to go to the podium.
State your name.
And state your name as well.
Barry Thomas.
All right. Barry Thomas, thank you.
I hadn't intended to speak tonight because Jeff, I think, expressed my thoughts on it very clearly. We have a bit of a bogeyman here, it seems to me. The newest, updated zoning plan is not what was earlier suggested. What was earlier suggested by a small number of people, backed by a large number of people, living in the R2 zone, was that all the present properties and zones would be protected, as would my R2 present status when it's changed to an R1. I don't think there's been any anti-business bias on the part of the people wanting to change the present R2 status on the property between, or let's say, the first block up from East State. There's no anti-business bias there. I was surprised when I saw the new plan, the most recent plan, which drew a very neat line, but it cut into the interests of a number of business people. I was puzzled at first when I came back to town and saw Mitch's letter complaining that his business was going to be affected. The last time I saw a plan that we had put forward, his business would have been protected. And I think that's the intent of my hopes for a change of my R2 status on Charles Street to an R1 to prevent the further encroachment of of duplexes up toward my house. That's a matter of property value for me. And I really think there's a false dichotomy here. I personally am not opposed. I thoroughly enjoy and use the businesses in our area. I just don't want them next door now. I think where they are is where they belong. I have no desire to cut out anyone's property values, but I would like to protect my own. So I hope that the plan that is in front of us now is not the final one. I would like to see us go back to what was originally proposed in a rough fashion, to be sure, but the intent was that all businesses would be protected. And I hope that the business interests that are represented here will understand that and realize we're not in opposition. Thank you.
All right, again, the Planning Commission was only going on the proposal that was submitted to them. It sounds like there was another proposal that was out there that we have not seen in a graphical format. And all that the Planning Commission did was blow it up to a scale that made it legible. And I think that might be the biggest issue, is that it may be done at unfortunately too small of a scale to quite understand what parcels would be affected in that change. So again, I don't see any Planning Commission member bringing this current proposal as it stands to a vote. And again, that won't happen today. We're only going to, just 3 minutes, I apologize, per comment, per person. Does anyone else plan on speaking today?
What's the action we're taking? I just want to back on here. I want to process.
Kevin, I will let you speak, but I ask that you go to a microphone so it can be picked up at least. So.
I pretty much am with Don in that it seems to me there should be a deliberate process in the light of day with everybody's interests represented and some careful planning and with some future thinking about what's in the best interest of everyone. And that these who drew the map and how did it, well, let's just forget that and just wipe the slate clean. If we want to do rezoning and businesses and property owners and residents are affected, let's have a public process other than just this, sort of pontificating thing, more of like a negotiating thing. I see it this way, you see it that way, and we work things out.
What are you asking?
It's sort of back in what Don has to say. I don't know. It just seems like common sense to me.
Well, number one, public hearing is a good opportunity to voice your concern. Number two, any citizen can bring up a proposal for a zoning change. We cannot, say, which citizens can at all. So,
Okay. If you get a chance.
okay.
Can I say something? This is part of the public process. Again, the map that was brought forward from the neighborhood at the time was looking at trying to change most of it, bringing down the R1s past Jacob southward. I think that some of the business zones changed over because they were looking at empty lots. I think that was a conversation I seem to recall early on. How we decide to do it is we could do nothing, one possibility. We could take the arrangements that were discussed here, both pro and con for business. I suspect the business component seems to be, what I'm hearing in general, is a non-viable option of moving some of the business zones to R2. On the other hand, I do hear some words about turning it the opposite direction. Again, we could do nothing. We could take a flavor of various kinds. We could take the map that we have right there and not adjust it whatsoever. That conversation will probably be at the next Planning Commission, I imagine. Again, then it goes as a recommendation to Council. Council will have a public hearing as well. They can vote it up or down. With a supermajority, they can amend it as well. We've been through that before. An example, of course, is the North Court Street area where it went from the conversation of B3 to a B2D. So this is the process. I think it's section, we're looking at 230903 for initiation of zoning amendments. Essentially, it can be adoption by a motion of commission, adoption by resolution, initiated, really, what we're talking about, resolution by city council, or by filing an application with the commission that at least one owner or lessee of the property within the area proposed to be changed or affected by said amendment. And again, this is the, it's all in the code. We're not doing it in the dark here. The sun's still shining. This is actually, as a public hearing, is not a necessity for a planning commission, but we're trying to leave it as open as possible and get as much input as possible. And that's really the point of why you're here. So we hear what you desire and what you want. Realize we had conversations of moving things. Once you start this conversation, it's like, should we modify other things? I know Nicholas brought up the idea of changing, Utah and Strathmore to found the deed restrictions, because we can think about these things. Not that it's going to be, set in stone. I've probably been going over 3 minutes, so I'll limit myself to 3 minutes too.
I'll consider.
Can the people, we have at least 5 people that have spoken, we have 3 people that have spoken publicly.
Again, I mean,
We have 3 people that have spoken relative to bringing this forth to the Planning Commission. I think we have more than 5 people that have spoken that we need to the Planning Commission, requesting that the Planning Commission step back and negotiate some discussions on this. And I would ask that those people raise their hands that would be in agreement of that. So, so we have at least 4 or 5 people. So I think I would like to propose on behalf of them, unless they object, that we present that as a proposal for the Planning Commission to consider.
Are you saying no change whatsoever?
As Kevin Gillespie said, I think it needs to be a process of a negotiation and discussion. So all parties are taken into consideration. And that will be kind of a difficult process, obviously, but we have a majority over the minority that had brought the proposal to you. So we're now re-proposing as a greater number that maybe we need to say that no changes to take place, but I don't think that's the position I'm per se taking. I think I'm taking the same position that Kevin is that we should step back without making any votes or decisions with the Planning Commission.
So you're talking about using option 230903, and you're going to put an application in as one of the affected property owners.
I will take that initiative if necessary.
Then I would say do so. We'll follow the process as we're supposed to follow the process.
Well, I thought this was a public meeting and we could do that publicly, so we rose our hands. I think we'd like to have that publicly at least recognized.
We have recognized it.
Okay, thank you.
all right. Mitch, see that you have a comment. Has everyone had an opportunity to speak that would like to speak besides Mitch today? All right, Mitch, if you could close our comments from the public, I'd appreciate it.
I truly don't believe that everyone even knows what's happening in the neighborhood. I think a lot of houses are owned by people out of town or wherever they are. They have no clue this is going on. I think some people do, but a lot of people don't. And I think everyone should know before we make some decisions. It's everybody's properties. Absolutely.
John, can you refresh us on who was notified via mail? John?
Either up at the podium or over here.
People that were notified by mail on this were the property owners less than 10 that were affected on a rezoning change. So the B3 that were being changed to R2, there were less than 10 properties there, so they were notified by mail, and I believe the R2 to B3, which were going to bring us, were notified by mail. Everybody else was notified by public announcement or sign we put out a second. That requires that more than 10 people saying they've done a public announcement, and we don't have to notify each party individually.
So it would seem that the majority going from R2 to R1 did not receive individual notice. Okay, thank you.
There you go. 3 maps.
All right, again, this will be a topic probably at our next
extras, so
coming
just
meeting.
state that.
We'll, I guess, talk a little bit, the commission members get their feelings from what they heard at the commission, and commission members will also suggest how to proceed. Again, the sort of what's ordained in code, the process is in place there, but there's always opportunity where other proposals may come up. Everyone is welcome to attend the planning commission meetings. We allow public input at all those meetings as well. So your comments don't have to just sort of be submitted here and now for this process. They can occur at any time. We do accept letters, and they are submitted on the record as they are with this public hearing. So if there's no other comment by the planning commission members,
So the next planning commission meeting is the 16th of May, if I understand correctly?
And then Title 41, as John said. So
What?
Well, this should tell us when our next meeting is.
You're talking about an agenda right now? Okay.
we don't have time.
all right, there's a good possibility the next meeting we will not have room on the agenda to even discuss this proposal, but we do publish our agendas each about 1 week prior to our meeting on the city website, and it will say whether or not this is going to be discussed. Not sure who I was timing there, I apologize. Probably myself again.
Or if they require information, contact my office, my
Okay.
agenda.
If you require any additional information, you can contact the mayor's office or the planner's office, and they would be able to assist you. If there's no further comments, this public hearing is now adjourned. I do ask that you take the time and put some sort of vote on the current map. Again, for those that didn't speak, this is a good way to put your input in. Thank you very much.